Hey guys, welcome back to our channel where we bring you the best content in the movies and entertainment industry. In today's episode, we're going to show you 7 worst kings of Westeros Games of Thrones. So, without wasting much time, let's get started. Number 7. Tommen Baratheon.
If we're to be just and good, then we accept it, all of us, even kings. A true leader avails himself of the wisest counsel he can, and no one is wiser than the gods.
Let's be honest, Tommen was a bad king. He effectively handed over power to the High Sparrow without raising a finger. He was, after all, a little lad. Cersei, who also happened to unleash the High Sparrow and his army of fanatics on King's Landing and the whole of Westeros, was his only counsel. Imagine being a little child who's lost his father, brother, and sister, and being named king when the world around you is ripping itself apart in brutal battles. I'm not sure how anyone could tackle such an onerous endeavor, let alone a youngster whose main source of advice is his stupid mother. Tommen, I believe, would have been an excellent king if he had been allowed to mature first. He may have survived if Tywin or Tyrion had been there to counsel him instead of Cersei. So, despite the fact that Tommen absolutely dropped the ball, enabling the High Sparrow to run roughshod over his authority, I believe he was handed the short end of the scepter to begin with. Besides, he was kind and fair, and he would almost definitely have matured into a man more akin to Renly or Robb than Joffrey. Number 6. Robert Baratheon. On the one hand, everyone's favorite king, Bobby B, had the wonderful merit of ending the Targaryen dynasty, which was degenerating into crazy. Don't worry, we'll discuss that madness later on this list. On the other hand, after all the conquest, killing, and combat is through, being a good military commander and having the blood to sit on the Iron Throne does not necessarily translate into being a good king. Yes, Robert's reign was exceptionally bloody while he was still alive, but he was a mostly indifferent monarch who was happy to leave the governance of the realm in the hands of his advisors, indulge in excess drinking, and empty the royal coffers. Similar to Westeros, House of the Dragon, Robert's primary mistake was leaving the realm vulnerable to conflict when he passed away. However, Westeros at least had some role in governing before his illness eventually took control. Number 5. Jon Snow. In this show, Jon ascended to the throne as King of the North. He's still dead in the books. What I like most about Jon as king is how little he desires the position. Some men are propelled into greatness, and Jon Snow is one of them. He never intended to be king, and he would have gladly relinquished the throne to Sansa if she had persisted. Jon Snow is also determined to do the right thing, even if it means turning his supporters against him. That is both a blessing and a burden. Despite the fact that Ned is not his father, he's most likely the Starkiest of Starks. He's obstinate and unyielding, and he has no interest in politics. I'm not convinced he understands military strategy either. He's undoubtedly valiant, good, and just, yet I believe he would make a better knight than a king. I think it's ironic that he is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, but he wouldn't be the worst king ever, and I'm sure he'd surround himself with knowledgeable advisors who'd advise he'd take seriously. I'm not sure he'd be very good at the other things, like pageantry and diplomacy, but he'd get the job done.
You are the bastard, though.
The bastard of Winterfell.
What's my name? Jon Snow?
Number 4. Aerys II Targaryen, the Mad King. We haven't seen much of Aerys II, but we definitely know him by his infamous name, the Mad King, aka Daenerys' father, and the one who spurred on the rebellion that would end the rule of House Targaryen over the 7 kingdoms. I've debated for a while over where to put him exactly on this list, but in the end, I've settled for just shy of the top 3 for a couple of reasons. Primarily the fact that the fall of House Targaryen was brought on not just by Aerys, but by his son Rhaegar as well. The Prince of Dragonstone might not have been cruel and paranoid like his father, but he was definitely too invested in the prophecies of the prince that was promised, and stealing away Lyanna Stark to have his oh-so-desired 3rd head of the dragon rather than maybe considering that it was time to dispose his father and take the Iron Throne for himself. Number 3. Robb Stark. Robb Stark's worst vice was being a youthful, hormonally charged romantic. He betrayed his vows, married the wrong woman, and walked right into a trap. Robb, on the other hand, was a good commander, a daring and well-liked leader of troops who were never as scrupulously honorable as his father. He would have been an excellent king in the north and possibly a decent ruler of Westeros, but it's difficult to say because we saw so little of him actually governing. Perhaps his ill-fated marriage would have been the first of many political gaffes. Perhaps, like his father, he would have been an excellent general but a dreadful ruler. But I get the impression from the young wolf that he was a charming and serious leader who would have inherited just some of his father's political flaws. Robb would have been an excellent king, generating both popular affection and lofty reverence. It aids to the tragedy of his death. Number 2. Mance Rayder. This was a tough one, and I really considered putting Mance first. Mance was a superb commander as well as a terrific fighter. He was also a singer and poet, which mirrored the traits that made Rhaegar Targaryen so beloved by everybody. Aside from that, Mance was all about destroying the system, similar to the High Sparrow but without religious zealotry. Mance saw right through the foolishness that divided monarchs and commoners. Daenerys talks a nice game about breaking the wheel, but Mance is the kind who would do it without insisting on everyone bending the knee or burning to death. Mance is also a remarkable uniter, bringing all the wildling tribes together in a feat no one had ever done before. Unfortunately, Mance could only become king of the Seven Kingdoms with the help of an invading force of barbarians and giants, and invading monarchs and conquerors frequently bring too much bloodshed and too many other difficulties to be deemed great. Mance, too, is a traitor, having broken his vows to the Night's Watch. Mance's notoriety and his disreputable acquaintances make it unlikely that he could have inspired the Westerosi people's allegiance. After all, cannibals made up a sizable portion of his army. Honorable mention: he's the hero of every young knight in the Seven Kingdoms. He gained the Iron Throne at the age of 14 and straightaway devoted all his energy to valiantly attempting to capture Dorne, the missing piece of Westeros that had escaped House Targaryen since Aegon I and his queens. Everything is correct. He definitely makes a great song character, but his fleeting military victories cost the lives of nearly 50,000 soldiers, both in taking Dorne and in the 3-year-long uprising that followed. Number 1. Joffrey Baratheon. There really isn't much need to describe all the terrible things Joffrey Baratheon Lannister has done. We were there to witness them all on Game of Thrones and throughout the A Song of Ice and Fire books. We know of the physical and emotional abuse he inflicted on Sansa Stark, of the violence he delighted to see and inflict on members of his court and of the small folk, and of how truly terrible he was as a king. So much so that even members of his own family didn't really think there was any way to salvage him into some sort of decent ruler. And let's not forget how he shattered every possibility of brokering peace with the Starks when he chopped off Ned's head. Had he been alive as a bargaining chip, I'm sure Tywin Lannister could have concocted something with Robb Stark in his mid, meaning that the Riverlands maybe wouldn't have turned into the devastated battlefield they did. Sure, it's not his fault that he was born from twins, but then again, that just puts him very much in line with the other Targaryen rulers on this list. That's it for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Press that like button if you did, and comment down your thoughts on it. Share the content to spread the good content. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. See you in the next one. Peace out.